everybody. Welcome to this presentation on chains of reasoning for your essay-based subjects, whether you're studying geography, history, psychology, religious studies, philosophy. All these essay-based subjects will ask you to demonstrate chains of reasoning. The examiners are testing to see whether you can think in a certain way, whether you can follow one thought with another, and whether you can follow an argument to its logical conclusion and justify those conclusions with good evidence. Really good skills, and I'm going to try and help you through them with this video. Well, A star for A level or grade 9 for GCSE. First thing to do is to answer the exact question. Work out what the exact question is. Spend a few moments just looking at it, underlining the key words. Then attack the question. Don't be shy. Don't use wishy-washy language, using words like good and things like that. Rather use words like convincing or fatally flawed. Be really strong in your answers and in your opinions. Keep referring back to the question. Keep linking back to the question as you were writing. Whenever you think of doing that, link back to the question. It'll help you to stay on track, and it'll help the examiner to see that you are sticking to the question. Use the scholars, A level particularly, but also at GCSE, there are some scholars that you can refer to. Refer to sources. Where does this come from in the source material, Bible or other sources in other subjects? Compare ideas and so on. And then chains of reasoning, as I said at the beginning. Let me try to do a chain of reasoning for you to give you a sort of toolbox so that you can copy me when you do your chains of reasoning. Now, I've made up a character called Numpty No Good, and I'm going to try to prove that Numpty No Good will get no A levels this summer. Here's my story. In the autumn of 2021, Numpty moved to a new school. This move resulted, notice my yellow highlights, these are my connectives, my chains, my links in the chain. This move resulted in the development of some new friendships, which were identified by family and teachers as unwise. This meant that Numpty was challenged to be sensible and break off these destructive relationships. However, instead of heeding this advice, Numpty continued to be led astray, missing lessons and ignoring teachers. In particular, Numpty actually told parents that education is a waste of time, and in addition, became addicted to gaming and would stay up all night. Undoubtedly, these decisions were fatally flawed. As a result, a very weak set of GCSEs in the summer of 2023 were produced. However, despite this setback, Numpty briefly seemed to see reason, and in addition, promised parents that things would change. As a result, they found the money to source an independent school for A levels. In particular, they felt that boarding would enhance Numpty's chances. However, as a result, Numpty found that bad study habits were too deeply entrenched, and things went from bad to worse. To put it another way, the expectations of Numpty at the new school were completely undermined by strong neural pathways laid down during his GCSEs. Ultimately, despite all efforts, Numpty's belief that good A levels were achievable under these circumstances and with this attitude were fatally flawed. My conclusion is that the evidence points to no A levels being achieved in 2025. This evidence is compelling and points to a chain of events and decisions over a period of years that lead to an irrefutable conclusion. So this is a chain of reasoning. You can see how I've used it there. We mean one point followed by another, and you see I've highlighted my connectives. I am signaling to the examiner, look at me. Here is my chain of reasoning. Here are my points. Here is what it leads to, and here is the result. I've done this. Right, so here I'm going to skip quite quickly through these expectations for AO1. This is religious studies I've got here, but AO1 level 6, that's what you need to do. Here are the levels. You can pause the video yourself. That's a little bit more detail. Here's AO2. This is the evaluation and analysis, which applies across all the the essay-based subjects. And there are the levels there for religious studies. They'll be very similar in other subjects. And I'm going to skip a little bit here because I want to move to thesis. When you start your essay, start with a sentence or two, which is your thesis. You're saying, I'm beginning my journey here. This is a summary of what I'm going to be arguing. Here are some examples of good and bad theses. A bad thesis. In this essay, I will argue that everyone should exercise. Bad thesis. Because why should I? What's in it for me? It's just too basic and simple. Here's a good thesis to start an essay. In this essay, I will argue that everyone over 40 should add exercise to their daily morning routine because it not only keeps their bodies at a healthy weight, but also reduces the risk of high blood pressure. That's a good thesis because it's more detailed. There are several specifications, 40s and over, the morning routine, high blood pressure, and so on. Here's another bad one. In this essay, I will argue that high levels of alcohol consumption is bad for you. That's not a good thesis because it's too broad. Here's a good one. In this essay, I will argue that high levels of alcohol consumption have detrimental effects on your personal health, such as weight gain, heart disease, and liver complications. That's more detail. That's what we're looking for. Start your essay like that, and then you go on to the next paragraph. Here are some of the link words, some of the chains of reasoning words. For example, if you want to produce reasons for something, use words like for this reason, because, and so on. If you want to probe deeper, get used to using one or two of these phrases. This worldview suggests that. This implies that. You don't have to use all of these, by the way. Just choose one or two phrases and get into the habit of using them. Indeed, there is a widespread view that. That's a clever one to use because it's boring for an examiner to be reading, this means that. It's fine, but it's much more scholarly and much better writing to use the English language in a better way. If you want to add something, this is for the more able. If you want to extend, then you can do things like this. Another philosophy which is commonly cited when referring to such matters is, or an equally effective argument is. A good example that demonstrates this is. Then, if you're analyzing a scholar's argument, you could say this argument is coherent because of these factors. This argument is convincing, or this is an unsatisfactory explanation. By the way, pause my video every now and then and make a little note of some of these link phrases. If you're analyzing a scholar's argument, these are more ideas. This argument is fatally flawed because this authoritatively shows. What about placing a counterpoint or contrasting? You could use a phrase like, this has been challenged by, or however, this argument can be rebutted by, or it has been criticized on the grounds that. Okay, here are some more. Again, pause the video here, have a look at what I've suggested. What about conclusions? Well, we all say in conclusion, but you could also say it has been clearly established that, or the preceding analysis, or my preceding analysis suggests that, or based on the findings that. Again, vary your phrases, vary the way you construct these chains of reasoning. Right, so here I've got link words that are in separate categories. These are for introducing evidence. This is for showing cause and effect. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these. This is for adding information. Additionally, moreover, This is for contrasting ideas. However, on the other hand, this is for emphasizing a point. Clearly, obviously, undoubtedly. This is for clarifying. That is to say, to put it another way. You'll notice in my story about numpty, no good, I use that phrase, to put it another way. Then comparing ideas in the same way, likewise. Qualifying statements, even though or despite. And then what about time and sequence? First, second, next. Um, Expressing conditions, provided that this is met, or as long as this is true. You could say the cosmological argument for the existence of God is a strong argument, provided that it does not claim to be a scientific argument, something like that. Drawing conclusions and summarizing. In conclusion, don't just keep saying in conclusion. Say things like, in short, therefore, or thus, I conclude that, and so on. So here are some wonderful ideas for you to consider as you prepare for your big exams, and I wish you everything of the best.